Yeah, I like your description of again, the old woman coming out into the circle of light from the darkness. Like that's, I think, often how, unconscious material comes up. It just presents
Yeah.
itself unexpectedly in
Yeah,
our
it's
system and in our
almost
lives.
chilling, like how interesting that is, you know. I don't know. So
Yeah, it's
it'd be cool to like try to compare that to like the cave or something and like mixing it up with the turnip princess of like instead of the people appearing to the immature boy when he, wakes himself up, it's more like a more mature person maybe, which it seems like these soldiers maybe are they're further along in life. They've had experience out in the world. It's like they're awake to see the people coming out of the cave, and you can have like a cool movie scene about that or something.
yeah, 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 yeah. No, I love that. I love that comparison of the circle of the firelight in the primitive, in the dark woods and the unknown, and the cave, also in the woods, coincidentally, I guess. But the cave from the Fraternal Princess, where the
Yeah.
change happens for the immature youth. Yeah, 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 yeah. That's really cool. That's really cool. It's sort of the same liminal space
Yeah. Yeah.
with the like you had said, like you don't know how far back the cave goes, and the same
Yeah.
thing when you're around the fire, you don't know what's out in the dark and
Yeah.
what might come out.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it's infinite kind of darkness.
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
Infinite mystery, I meant to say.
yeah. But but yeah. So then Fortunatus, which is, you know, I assume that means the lucky one. I'm not necessarily up on my Latin,
I
if that's
looked it up
Latin.
and yeah, apparently, yeah, yeah.
Okay.
And he's the only one that's named, I think, right? Yeah, he's the
For,
only one of the whole story that's named, which that sticks out.
it does. It does. And it's odd because he's like, as I have said and will keep saying, he's kind of a jerk. He's
Mm,
not kind of a jerk. He's quite a gruff man,
mm,
and not to be trusted. But he's also very outwardly successful. He's very good looking, and I assume since he's able to throw parties, um, relatively good to be around.
mm,
Charming to a certain
mm.
extent.
Yeah. Yeah, they wouldn't have respected him, I think, if he just threw parties, but was obvious that this was some kind of just transactional thing.
Mm-hmm.
So there had to
Mm-hmm.
be some reason that yeah, I thought it was interesting that it mentioned he was respected. So he's also a veteran, so he has some kind of character, some kind of strength maybe behind that.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. Um,
He's not like a playboy that everybody will eat at the table of, but like disrespect behind their backs.
right, 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 right. Yeah, no, he definitely has that. Like, he seems to have that like center of the party. Like everybody would sort of look up to him, kind of a thing, because he keeps doing it and he keeps doing it really well. Um, and yeah, I mean, you've already touched on the fact that his two friends just return home, get married, and were rich and happy. And they're rich and happy from the money that he gave them. I guess they invested with it well or something.
Mm,
And so they don't really have a need for running away or getting into a fight. Like they're just sort of like, hey, this is good. Everything's great. I have the gold I need. I can do things with it. I can create whatever kind of situation I need to, generate and protect myself and have a house over my head and get married and live happily ever after. So
mm.
those two get to live happily ever after, which again is sort of the fairy tale turned on its head. That the two lesser brothers or the two less important characters are the ones that end up doing well.
Yeah.
Um, then what do you think of this princess? I'm very much on the fence about her.
Uh I would characterize her as, yeah, lustful. Like I'm not talking about
Mm.
sexually really,
Mm-hmm.
but more like she has her eye on something, whether it be the apples at the end of the story or the one that got away, the one that she just can't have. And she won't take no for an answer, and that
Mm.
makes sense. She's a royal. No one
Mm.
says no to her. No one has said no to her.
Mm.
I'm assuming. But yeah,
Yeah, yeah.
she has gone her life getting everything she wants. Now she wants the thing, and the story mentions, because he uh, refuses her advance, she wants him all the more, which is, very characteristic of, yeah, is it desire without wisdom, I guess.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, yeah, I can see what you mean. That's sort of like the pull that that kind of thing can have if you don't know how destructive it can be. That's
Yeah.
which it does end up being. So that is also interesting. Um, hmm. Because yeah, I'm like on the one hand, I'm of a mind with you of like she really kind of I don't want to say she brings it on herself because she doesn't bring it on herself directly, but she does keep going back to the guy, and the guy's clearly not like he's not interested,
Yeah.
and I don't know like I don't know if that's her fault for going back to him or if we take a more like archetypal view of it. This is sort of my other perspective on it of like if you remember the turnip princess, like the old woman in the turnip princess was the beautiful woman that the prince was looking for, was the sort of matched part of his the missing part of his soul that he was sort of on the search for.
Mm.
And so the parts of our soul will they're very patient, they'll wait for us, but we have to actively be in pursuit of them or trying to figure out what's keeping us from this part of ourselves. Like we have to be engaged in the process,
Mm.
otherwise maybe they do get irritated with us. But he seems to, he goes to the palace. He King's daughter fell madly in love with him, but he was unwilling, and that made her all the more lovesick. So you're right, there's kind of a covetousness on her part. And it says she
Yeah.
was sure he was harboring some kind of dark secret, and she tried to figure out why he was so completely indifferent to her. So like if we look at it from a soul perspective, like yes, the soul wants to figure out why we're indifferent. Like that's sort of seeing her in the positive light. But assuming that he had some kind of a dark secret, it's odd that it never really explains why he's unwilling. I mean, I guess if he's just happy being super rich and throwing parties all the time and doesn't want to get tied down by a princess, like okay, but
I think that's part of it.
yeah, yeah, huh. But see, but that's the thing. So here's yeah. So I just realized something. One of the reasons I'm thinking of the comparison with the Turnip Princess is in the Turnip Princess, you had the old woman who was actually the young woman, and it was sort of the mirroring represented. And here you have an old woman who gives gifts, and then you have a young woman who takes them away when you don't give her what she wants,
Nice. I
And
didn't see that parallel.
thanks. And if it is, if at the beginning the woman was like, "Give me hospitality," and they're like, "Nah, I don't know. We're going to chase you up. Oh, you've got this thing for us? Okay, you can have some hospitality." So there's this approach between the characters and whatever the old woman and the prince, if they are the same, if they are mirrors of the same psychological pieces, there's an approach then, and there's an exchange of gifts and hospitality, and then later here you have the princess and the king kind of in the center of their world, and you have Fortunatus coming in as the outsider, and he's welcomed in, and he's invited to stay. He's invited to marry the princess and sort of inhabit this kingdom, and he says no. So it's, to my mind, in that case, it's like it's a refusal of hospitality as well, or it's like it's the other pull, like the magnetic pull of the relationship, where the old woman comes into the group of men, and then the man comes into, Fortunatus comes into the kingdom where the princess is. And the sort of the transaction happened relatively correctly in the first place, in that the woman got warned and the men got the magical gifts. So everybody kind of ended up with something nice. And here in the end, in the second part, he's saying no. And when he says no, he loses his gold. He loses his magic that he has. And so rather than like going and making peace with the princess, he goes back to his friend, whichever one it was, and he gets the hat. He gets taken care of. So he gets like he's invested his money well, such that when it's gone, he's got a friend he can go to who will take care of him. So there's a secondary resource he can draw from. And and his friend's fine, doesn't need the hat, so gives him the hat. And then he takes the hat and he goes back to the princess. And she recognizes him. She was surprised to see him back in his former glory and was sure he would now agree to what she wanted. But once again, she was wrong. Doesn't say why. Using the same means as before, she got him to tell her everything. So he's like, that's the thing, is like, he keeps going to this princess. She keeps being able to convince him to tell her all of his secrets. And so there must be some fondness of his towards her. Otherwise, I mean, why would he sort I mean, why would he open up to her? Why would he trust her with his secrets a second time and a third time? It seems strange. Like, it seems, I don't know, to me it seems like he does have feelings for her, but he doesn't want to admit them. But I don't know if that's the only way to look at it.